Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. Joining me today is Sriram S as we can look at the latest breaking information about India lowering tariffs as per the request of United States. We'll know all about this and more, the impact, who's going to pay more, who's going to pay less, all that and more. Let's welcome Sriram S. Sriram sir, namaskaram and welcome to PGurus channel.
Sir, namaskaram sir. Namaskaram to all the PGurus viewers.
Sriramji, if you look across the board, right, there were many items where India has been charging very high amounts of tariffs, 75%, 100%. Let's take cars, for example. It's easy to understand. Cars, imported cars are very expensive and 100% is typical, even though, it may sound very high, but it is true. There are people willing to pay that kind of money. For example, I think Audi is the one that is one of the most expensive. I don't know why that has got one of the highest, the numbers. Sir, this India saying that we will match to whatever lower tariffs that you are demanding. How do you see this thing? Because I see that it's not going to affect India, the average Indian, much.
Sir, I think against all the wishes of many of the patriotic Indian Americans and against the wishes of President Trump and his I would say that comical rhetorics, India is not going to buckle in. That's what my reading is. Even though he says that India has agreed to reduce the tariff, it is going to be selective. Selective where it protects the India's industry, India's interest and India's industry. So, for example, Harley Davidson attracted 300% tax because it is a luxury vehicle. It is not to protect the Indian industry of two-wheeler bike. Okay, so it is to people who can afford a Harley Davidson can pay the tax. So there is a theory of taxation in India is number one, affordability, protection of Indian industry, as well as if someone can buy a luxury one, better pay more tax, right? It's a progressive taxation. So on for example, Tesla car, India lowered the margins or lowered the taxes for a simple reason that everything is a Make in India program. They tie it to the Make in India, so I'm going to get more revenue, more job, and then more raw materials being manufactured, supply chain created. So why not? And Tesla is not a competition to, say, for example, Tata's or Maruti's ambition for a battery car. See, you talked about the luxury taxation, and then, already there is a case in Supreme Court. I think by end of March or April, if Hyundai, Volkswagen don't comply with or don't reverse their fraud that they committed. Say, for example, I'll explain what happened. There are certain product lines by Volkswagen. Audi is one, and then in Hyundai there are a couple of things, and then Kia there is a Carnival and a couple of more variants. It all used to come as a CKDs, which is a full kit will come, and then for that the tax is different for a certain percentage. Whereas for a spare parts the tax is low. What they have done is the entire car they imported it as if that 4 doors alone comes in a container in a different port of entry. For that is a 4 or 5 doors for a car, and then for 100 car 500 doors, different doors is in a container is imported, and then the different parts comes as a different consignment, brought it as a spare, and then assembled it here, sold it as a full car. Ideally, the tax should have been higher, for which the lower tax they paid. They fraudulently made this, and then this was found out by Excise Department and Customs Department, and then they have filed a case. They went to tribunal. Tribunal, upheld the claim by the tax department. Then what happens? They went to High Court. High Court stood with the tribunal. Supreme Court also said that whatever tribunal's ordered is right. Settle your dues, otherwise exit the business. So that's the direction it is going towards. So India is not going to buckle down. On a case-to-case basis, For example, if it is going to be beneficial for India, they lower the rates. But otherwise, if it is not going to be beneficial, if it is going to hurt the Indian industry, India is not going to buckle down. So while the tariff, whatever Trump is trying to say is valid from his country's point of view, where Trump lacks his, plan or strategy. In fact, you and I discussed this in my brother's house, if you remember, right?
Yes, yes,
When I was
yes,
in the US.
yes.
I was saying that, it is it's more rhetorical, and then it is going to be, to use a very harsh word, idiotic proposition, for a simple reason that who is going to bear the charges on those duties or increased tariffs? So today, when India charges 300% on Harley Davidson, it's not Harley Davidson which suffers. It is the buyers of Harley Davidson suffers. Of course, Harley Davidson is not able to sell in the market significantly as otherwise they would have expected, because Harley Davidson, even the basic model, becomes a luxury vehicle. BMW has a two-wheeler segment which becomes a luxury vehicle, costs about 3 lakhs on the road, and then some of them cost about 2 lakhs on the road. Whatever different variants costs different. So if someone has to buy it at 3 lakh rupees, might as well pay another 1 lakh and then get a small car, or even second-hand car, one can get it. But so those who are buying that Harley Davidson are not, they would buy an Audi or Mercedes-Benz car. Okay, they can afford it. That's not a problem. So that's the trade balance is a problem for America because of these higher taxation. But at the end of the day, say suppose if Trump is going to reciprocal tariffs, he's going to put 100% tax on whatever goods that comes from, what equal amount of tax percentage, whatever goods comes from India or whatever goods comes from China, the end cost that is going to be borne by the end consumers. It is not the country that is exporting. It is the country that imports, because normally all local taxes extra. I'll even give a little bit of exception here. For example, India is going to suffer the maximum with respect to IT exports, your software and information technology exports, because most companies have a US entity already. Say, for example, for a simplicity's sake, I'll take TCS or Accenture or Infosys, everybody, every name any IT company which has at least 5,000 to 6,000 people in offshore in India would have an American entity already. So their contract structure will always be from Indian entity, they sell to American entity of their own organization in a transfer pricing, and then American entity of TCS signs up with the end customer. So in these scenarios, TCS is a sufferer, because TCS Americas have to pay the additional duty, which means it is the overall profitability of Tata Consultancy Services is going to be hit. Whereas most of the goods that are being supplied to America comes from direct to direct. So the entity which are importing are going to be the entities that are going to suffer. Say, for example, Walmart buys from China, and then today they are selling it at, say, $10 a product, a jean pant at $10, and then there is 100% tariff imposed. Walmart will have to pay the additional $10 to import this. So $20 is their cost. Automatically, whatever you buy in Walmart goes up to $20. Fair enough. So what will Walmart do is they'll start buying it from Vietnam instead of China, because Vietnam probably has a lower taxation. But is there the supply chain structure and supply chain infrastructure created end to end? US, most of their day-to-day living, most of their commodities, nearly 80 to 85% comes from China and India put together, and even Mexico put together, including Mexico. Canada, I would say, there are a lot of food products come from Canada. Lumber and timber comes from Canada. And Trump yesterday said that he is going to sign a presidential order to remove the restriction of cutting trees in USA and then planting it. It's all fine. By the time it takes effect, it's going to be almost a year or so, not immediately, right? So who is going to be the sufferer? So what? But Trump has a very short runway. It is about 4 years alone he has. Tomorrow, when another Republican government comes, it's not certain that they will carry forward the same policies that Trump is laying it down today. They may relax a lot. And if Democrat comes, they are going to reverse everything. So it is a short-term 4 years period. So what he can do to disrupt this and then make it long-term is devalue dollar. Devalue the dollar, make it cheaper to produce in the US rather than procuring. So all the industries, because it is already an industrialized state, because of 2001 WTO agreement with China and the concept of so-called stakeholder value generation, all the manufacturing industries were lock, stock and barrel shifted and then put to China, so that the cost was lower, and then China was giving a lot of incentive for export businesses, and everything put together, industry shifted to China, right? And that is where Trump is going to act. That is why I kept on saying that Trump will devalue the dollar, because dollar is already in a valuation which is beyond its natural value, because it's a big brother and strong currency. They can print at will. They don't need to have any backing, and all those put together are just printing like as if it is a newspaper, right? Bit notice. So dollar will be revalued. If at all Trump wants a long-term disruption and reset his economy, he's going to disrupt the entire world economy. By doing that, he's going to disrupt it in a catastrophic way that after 5-10 years, it is going to emerge as a level playing field for US. Otherwise, at this point in time, without taking these initiatives, reform initiatives, without creating a backbone, without creating a supply chain route and supply chain infrastructure, this is going to be a very short-lived economic disruption, and the inflation rate is going to hit the American public very strongly. And that is where even the public will start resisting that. Even Republican senators will start resisting many of these moves. And this is my reading. You may have a different opinion, Sree Iyerji, and people in America will have a different opinion. But this, as a fundamental economic student, this is how I view it. I'll pause here.
Thank you, Sriramji. But let me ask you a question. You talked about transfer pricing, and this is something that is very common between Japanese manufacturers also. I used to work with a lot of Japanese companies. The same thing used to happen. It was a little bit more complicated. We will sell a chip, and then the circuit board, plastic, logo, painting, box, all these things used to be done either in China or in Taiwan.
Yeah.
And that would be done by a contract manufacturer. So the final product arrives in Japan shores, and then Japan will in turn, they will mark it up, of course, and then they will sell it across the world. And in every country, they'll have a subsidiary of that country's under country, like Japan, JVC Europe, JVC UK, JVC, US, and so on. And everywhere, this transfer pricing used to be like such a big headache. And at the end of the day, I don't know how they manage. There are a huge staff of people doing all these things. But why can't TCS India directly export the product to US? What is the reason for this, having the entity like that?
Yeah, see, because they wanted to insulate, for example, the jurisdiction becomes an issue. Why these sort of entities? Because TCS, when they started it, every billing used to happen from India, and then India used to get the money and all those, right? And they did have a US entity to manage the employees and then visa processing, etc. But because of the jurisdiction, legal jurisdictions, they created an entity in every country where they have, and then the legal entity where the contract is being signed. See, imagine if it is going to impact only one country, one company, it is fine. They can't do anything. But imagine if I'm just taking the software as an example. today, even though India all of a sudden come to a standstill because of this 100% reciprocal tariffs, and every Indian company is going to suffer because of this, they will actually go for a renegotiation with their end client. Every client, every service, because if one service provider asks for it, client would say, get lost, I'll go to the next service provider. Every service provider, with a brand, HCL, TCS, Cognizant, Accenture, IBM, Deloitte, PwC, you name Wipro, you name any company, everybody is going to go to the client and then say, come on, I can't bear this charges, so now we need to renegotiate this. I will pass through all the taxes that I have been charged by your president. And then, when we had the because they would always have some clauses in the contract which would say that, to protect this, and then, this is a significant change, and then, I don't think they can call it as a force majeure, but, it's a political situation, can be argued as a force majeure clause, and they say that, okay, we are going to renegotiate this contract, take it or leave it. Every vendor is going to come with that, right? Because it is not going to be a $1, $2 difference that, I can absorb that in my margin. It is going to be a significant cost that is going to, more than half the margins that they earn, in that way. So naturally, they are not going. No company will be willing to absorb that. Even American companies will go for a renegotiation with their end customers, right? But I can understand why Trump is very vehement to put the tariffs in Mexico and Canada, because China circumvented the NAFTA agreement last time when Trump came to power. The similar tariff was levied on China. China, what they did is they exported everything to Mexico, and then they had a factory in Mexico which will only put up a button in a shirt, for an example, right? And then, the end product will be, sold from Mexico. That's why last time he brought the regulation saying that origin of the product, right? It is not that, finally where it gets delivered from, origin of, product. Then when you trace it back, it was China. Then, all the raw materials and everything was taxed higher. So because the NAFTA agreement protected the industries within the North American financial treaty, right? So Canada, Mexico, and USA, and China circumvented that very conveniently. But then Trump put a full stop to that. So that is why I can understand why he is going very aggressive on Canada and Mexico to protect this. But if he's going to levy the same charges on every country, then one has to look at product-wise product, right? Product category wise. I can understand if he levies a significant amount of, for example, tariff on high-tech product that comes in, because in India charges high-tech product at a certain significant amount of tariff, so reciprocal. India doesn't import much of food products from America. Maybe some apples they do, and apples doesn't attract significant amount of taxation. So if it is a product category by product category, then it is understandable. But blatantly that take the highest rate and then put that as your taxation, I think Modi will say, be my guest, and then you are going to screw up your economy, and then he's not going to budge. I think all these rhetorics, they will come for negotiation, and then he'll go to postpone, like what he did, that auto majors from Mexico and Canada are given a relief till April. So they are going to actually have all these negotiations. But at the end of the day, unless you create your backbone, unless you create your supply chain, it is going to backfire on the Americans, who are going to uprise, because at the end of the day, America is not known to take higher amount of inflation, especially the food inflations. They cannot afford. The American public are not used to it mentally. Okay, their mentality is that they have always been used to 1.5% to 2% inflation. Already during COVID, when it hit 8 and 9%, there was a huge amount of restlessness amongst the public. And if it goes back to the 8-9 double-digit inflations, Western economy, especially American economy, cannot absorb that. Their public people cannot absorb that. Whereas country like China or India can absorb this much amount of inflation very easily, because they have different layers of cushion. Because the inflation is going to affect only the upper middle class and above. The lower middle class will find different avenues of the basic necessities. I'm talking about the basic necessities of food, shelter, cloth, and other basic necessities of day-to-day living. They will find alternate avenues which will be cost effective for them. They will explore those opportunities, whereas America can't afford to do that. I think that is where I see that all this tariff war is going to blow it on the face of America. And united, if most of the countries, which are the countries which gets impacted, or Mexico, Canada, China, India, and some of the Southeast Asian countries, including Japan, all these countries, when they push back and then resist, that's where the problems are going to be. And they'll find ways, like what I talked about, transfer pricing. Okay, fine, UK to US, you don't have a problem. I will sell it to UK, and then through UK it will come through. It will be routed, right? No value add, nothing, but routing will be through this. So they will find other avenues and to avoid this taxation, and in a short period of time before they renegotiate all their contracts. I think, and then from now on, whichever contract gets signed will always have this reciprocal clause put in between the multiple entities, even including the transfer pricing entities. They will all bring this structure into it. End of the day, it is going to be what America is doing is understandable, but they should have done it in a structured way, not in a disruptive way. It is going to backfire, is my humble opinion.
Sriramji, let's just take a quick look at the video, because I think I have a small clarification to ask you.
Sure.
Let's take a look at the video first.
In the world, Canada, Mexico, and then you just go right down the line. India charges us massive tariffs, massive. You can't even sell anything into India. It's almost restrictive. It is restrictive. We do very little business inside. They've agreed, by the way, they want to cut their tariffs way down now, because somebody's finally exposing them for what they've done. And same thing with China, same thing with a lot of other countries.
What he's saying is, rather than raising the tariffs on India, he's saying that India has agreed to lower the tariffs.
Yeah, agreed. That's where what happens is, he is giving a lifeline for his rhetoric, right? End of the day, when he says that tariffs are, say for example, what impacts America, right? Iron ore. They are dependent on China and India. So if iron ore, raw materials, if they increase the tariff, it's going to impact your entire industry in the US. So he's not going to do that. He is going to keep it, at a low, whatever the current existing rate. Software industry come to a standstill. Even America can't breathe at this point in time. I'm saying that not America is incapable, but for America to build this infrastructure, build this backbone, it will take at least a couple of years. So they are going to come to a standstill. So he is going to relax on all those stuff. India, in turn, will definitely reduce its tariffs on products that doesn't impact Indian consumers or Indian industry. For example, I talked about Harley-Davidson. He already reduced, when Modi went to the US, he reduced tariffs on several products, right? And for example, battery operated car, definitely the tariffs are lower. And wherever, see, it is India first policy Modi adopts, and then Trump adopts America first policy. And, together, they are going to have definitely some give or takes. But if there is a broad brush painting saying that, put a barrel on a head and then say, by 31st, if you don't lower your tariff on everything that comes from America, that's not going to happen. India also cannot afford to look weak in front of the world and to its own population. So they are not going to do that. Definitely, high-tech products where it is not going to impact the Indian industry or where it is going to benefit the Indian public, the tariffs may be lowered, right? Already, if you look at the infrastructure products, the tariffs are lower. High-tech know-how and high-tech products that we import, machineries, tariffs are very low. Only thing is, Elon Musk is taken care. I think, Trump will keep quiet because already he has been taken care. Tesla cars, the, tariffs have been lowered to, I think, 75% or 80% instead of 200 odd percentage. I think, and only precondition that we have India has done is, you need to create a manufacturing base in, India for, there has to be some amount of pathway. I think, Elon Musk has taken care, and then his SpaceX, whatever that, telecom services, Starlink, all those comes in, and then if he's taken care, I think Trump is going to say that, they achieved what they wanted. But otherwise, India is not going to budge for, say, for example, some of the products where Indian industry is in, say, cars. Let's take about cars. If you import all the American cars and not manufactured in India. See, Ford used to be manufactured in India all along. It used to be exported to America and other countries. So India is going to protect its industry for sure. Some products there will be they will give up. Harley Davidson, for example, already rates are reduced. So there are about 20 odd products the rates are reduced already, right?
Yes. Sir, one second. There is one observation from our friend Sachin Sharma. Java, which is, I think, a European product, is more popular than, say, Harley Davidson.
Yeah, see, Java as a bike used to be, because we don't have a Java as a vehicle today. In fact, I owned 1960s.
Yeah, me too.
Java,
Rajdoot, Enfield.
Enfield, and then, the 1967 Java model, used to be very noisy and all. But now it is, it's not as popular as it used to be before. Because those days we never used to have those many two-wheelers. And Java was it was not a status symbol, it was a tag value, right? More than a status symbol. And it was not too costly. It was, medium level. Harley Davidson is I use this product name because it is a luxury product. There are BMW motorbikes and then Mercedes motorbikes that are there in India, and then there are several other motorbikes from the European. It is all luxury products with a 300% import duty. Not because they want to protect Indian industry, because Indian bike industry is probably not going to be impacted by the Harley Davidsons of the world, but because it's a luxury product, already the product base price of the product is high, and people who are buying can afford to spend that. Yeah, Royal Enfield has grown leaps and bounds. Royal Enfield actually grew in India when the original designer agreed to change the gear, and because otherwise gears used to be in right side. I think they changed the side of the gears, right? Because otherwise it was not the usual one. Normally left leg used to have the gear and then right leg brake, whereas in Royal Enfield it was the other way around. And then now when the designer agreed to change it, I think about 10 years back they relaunched it. Now today Royal Enfield Bullet is probably everybody's vehicle. It's costly, but everybody's vehicle.
Then I remember the old method, and I remember doing that mental switch to do the other way. But
yeah,
the thing used to ride like a ship. So stable.
Absolutely.
You will find the jerky, the brake, the shock absorbers are fantastic. Fantastic.
Can you imagine 350cc vehicle, right? And then in Indian roads, the large tires. Whereas when you got a TVS or other Honda, Bajaj, I think the very narrow one, right? A Yamaha, I think I don't know, some CX100 or something, which was originally launched. Even now it is not produced, but it is most favored vehicle for many people even today, right? So if you look at that, Royal Enfield, because of the changes, and I think with the price wise, it matches with the most of the products, and hence it is it is the most favored vehicle at this point in time.
Very good, sir. So let's go to the second topic. We still have about 10-15 minutes. We need to wrap up though. And
Sure.
We have a few questions to take, I hope. Sir, what is this about Bangladesh? I'm very curious to know.
Okay, one thing is, Bangladesh, after, Sheikh Hasina was ousted, and last week, the current acting president or Prime Minister, Mohammed Yunus, said that. Advisor, yeah. So, in fact, if you look at it, that's the difference between statesmanship between Modi and Rahul Gandhi. I want to take a dig at this. When this guy Mohammed Yunus took over as a interim prime minister or a premier of that country, Modi tweeted saying that congratulations to the interim government, whatever that prime minister, and then we'll work together. Rahul Gandhi tweeted, congratulations to the prime minister of Bangladesh, Mohammed Yunus. And there is a diplomatic. That's where Rahul Gandhi misses the statesmanship. So last week, Mohammed Yunus said that we cannot work without India, we cannot survive without India, so we will have to have a good relationship with India and all those stuff, right? While one can link this to USAID drying up, one can link to Trump coming in and then he is not going to favor Bangladesh, and then if Kamala Harris had won, definitely Bangladesh would not have taken this route. The most important aspect of it is our military might. Actually, if you look at it, normally there is a strike corps, right, which practices their drills in the China border. What is this? In the military parlance, the strike corps is nothing but, they used to call strike corps or strike corps or whatever. It's about a lack of people, highly trained, offensive. See, there is in any military parlance, there is always an offensive force and then defensive force. The defensive force will protect someone intruding. The offensive force will actually march forward, right? And to stop every offensive force, you need the 3 times defensive force to stop them. So if you are 1 lakh people, 1 lakh army men, Jawans are going to be an offensive force, the opposition country needs minimum 1:3, 3 lakh, soldiers, along with their infrastructure, bunkers constructed and the infrastructure constructed to prevent this offensive force from marching through. But what Indian Army did in the recent past, it was not talked about it in a very, widely, but of course, it was covered in some newspapers in West Bengal. Some of the newspapers covered these drill. Instead of conducting this drill in the China border, this time Indian Army conducted this drill in Bangladesh border, which actually, and of course the Razakar army from Burma are ready to. So what is? It's not Razakar. So I forgot that name. I'll remember that. The Burma Buddhist soldiers army, they are actually said that they'll come in and then they will be offensive on the other side of the Bangladesh. So imagine if India walks through and up to where the Hindu populations are more, Chittagong area and all, they'll just cut off Bangladesh in the Arakan army. Sorry, thanks Sachin. Yeah. Razakar is our Hyderabad Razakars. I just
right.
Arakan army, right? So, and the second thing is our external affairs and defense strategists told Bangladesh that we will put a stop to the 5 main rivers that flows into Bangladesh, where they are the downstream. You close down 3 of them. Just stop releasing the waters to 3 of them. Bangladesh will be into a deep drought situation. So the mirror was shown to Muhammad Yunus in the last month or so, now he has no other choice. The third important thing that happened, one need to have actually look at it, is Awami League, which was actually gone into bunkers and underground, started raising up, because Muhammad Yunus said that when the elections happen, Awami League will be disqualified to contest this election. So there is a protest that already started from January onwards. So which shows significant amount of support by public, because public are totally upset with the current regime, and then they didn't actually expect this regime change to happen. And the students, so-called student movements funded by the USAID deep state, eyeing certain other aspects and then trying to create a restlessness in this territory, and now it is backfiring on them. The funds are dried out, and then people are not willing to, people are seeing through their game plan, and then they are upset, and then their livelihood is being affected in a big way. That is one aspect of it. And then the Indian might of the defense forces showing to the Bangladesh defense analyst, and then saying that, look, this is what, if I start marching in, I think less than a day we will capture Bangladesh, and you have no match for us. I think that is a significant amount of mirror that was shown to the Bangladesh, and there is the Bangladesh chief of army was hinting that there could be a coup, right? The reason is because Indian army showed that to them. If you don't stop all these nonsense, we will walk in. So the Bangladeshi army understood, because the professional army understands the might of their neighbor defense capabilities, and then that is why that this guy is now trying to strike a cordial relationship with India. I'm sure that Sheikh Hasina would want to go back to Bangladesh some point in time, and when she goes, she will win hands down, and then the relationship with Bangladesh is going to be significantly far better than even before this regime change that happened. I think the fundamental reason why I wanted to talk about this, the mainstream medias have not covered this, the strike corps drill. Only the small portions in West Bengal media that covered this, and so I just wanted PGurus viewers to know what is happening in that border, and that's why I wanted to cover this as a topic.
Thank you so much, Ji, and let's take a few questions now. Thank you, Sanjay, for your super sticker. Maithili wants to know, Sriramji, is it not fair to impose tariffs on countries as long as it doesn't affect the domestic market? Is there not any WTO policy that developing countries need to be put on soft tariffs?
See, there is a WTO that tries to regularize the tariffs. See, this is where I'm saying it's not an unfair trade practice. What US is trying to do is not unfair trade practice. But what they are trying to do is, instead of having a dialogue, they just put the barrel on head and then saying that, I'm going to do this, change it from today. And doing that is also not wrong, because it gives that sovereign right for America to do that. But have they created an alternate supply chain? Have they created an alternate way to minimize cushion the inflationary trends? Say, for example, if timber or lumber, which they import significantly from Canada, shoots up by 25%, who are going to be affected? It is a common construction construction industry is going to be impacted, and then common public who is going to buy the houses and others are going to get impacted, and immediate transfer of that cost will be to them. Even on the old stock that they have already imported, the construction industry is going to hike it, and then the common public is going to get impacted immediately, or housing prices are going to go up. Maybe in a matter of months' time, the housing prices will go up, right? I'm just taking one single product. Unless otherwise you have an alternate arrangement made, this is going to be impacting the common public. I think that is where the common public who voted will say that, okay, what the hell this? I voted to you, and then you are putting me under the bus.
Srinivas Kambapati says Donald Trump can bully small countries, not China, India, or Russia. Too big to be bullied, according to John Helmer. Trump's ratings in every aspect are negative except deportation. Your views?
See, these rhetorics that he is doing, it is still popular amongst several people. But when their purse is hit heavily, when their wallet is hit heavily, then definitely the ratings will go negative, more and more. Deportation, there are a lot of things that he is trying to do is right. Even the tariffs that he is trying to do is right. But only thing is the pace at which he wants to do that without making an alternate arrangement, he is going to become unpopular. Not only he is going to become unpopular, the Republicans as such are going to be unpopular, which means end of the day, the Republican senators who are going to face the public, not the president directly. And 4 years down the line, Trump is not going to even face, because second term is done, so he is no longer going to face the public. So the Republican senators will start, striking back. I think that is where, the pace at which it is doing is not going to be helpful. Otherwise, the DOGE is an excellent initiative. The USAID has done several regime changes, impacted, peace in many countries. I think, the corrective actions are appropriate. His intention to stop the war in Ukraine is understood. Intention to stop the war in Middle East is very much understood. A lot of good things which carries him a positive ratings. But the moment, the burden is hit on the consumers, that's when the people will start reacting.
Next one, please. Rohit Akshay wants to know, will Hamas release the hostages after Trump's warning? Are we on the brink of World War III? Your comments, please.
See, Hamas probably will not, because if they wanted to, the first warning deadline he gave about 2 weeks back. They didn't do that. The second warning is there. The third warning is there. Maybe, what America can do is they are going to go and pulverize Hamas again. But I don't think there is a World War III is in the vicinity. Of course, Poland has announced yesterday saying that, all adult males should undergo a military training. Similarly, other countries would, Europe would start doing that. But I don't think it will escalate to World War III, in my opinion, because the World War III, see, it was never a world war. All the previous wars were World War I and so-called World War II are European wars. Because of the colonization of British, some of the other countries outside Europe also had to participate in that. But otherwise, it is never a world war. It was just a European war. So Europe has a habit of pushing this into others' heads. The world is far more larger outside than the Europe, right? So I don't think that if it is going to be a European war again, I think, Russia will restrain this time. Russia will not jump into the war because they know that they are going to be impacted. I think a lot of people will get, interfere and then stop that from happening, including Trump will jump in to negotiate this and then stop it. Already the US-American, team has met oppositions in Ukraine to, dethrone Zelensky because, he didn't listen to Trump, and then they are trying to do that. That regime change, they are trying to do that. So I don't think it will escalate into another war.
Pradeep wants to know, if dollar is devalued, sovereign wealth in dollar reserves loses its value over time. How can it be used as a reserve currency?
It will still be a reserve currency because of, at this point in time, IMF, declares there are a basket of currencies that are, which are the reserve currencies that one can use. So it will still be a reserve currency. But what impact it would create is, why is that American industries which were manufacturing before 2001 WTO arrangement with China moved all its manufacturing to China? Because the cost of import is far more cheaper than manufacturing that at home. The cost of labor is too high in the US. The moment it is devalued, the cost of import is either going to be same or cost of import is going to be higher than manufacturing in the US. with the same labor cost, I'm talking about the same labor cost base, it is still going to be cheaper to manufacture in the US. So that is, but what it will do is it will create a ruckus in the world economy, and hence, which is fair. End of the day, even during doing the devaluation is going to impact the American public first, but it is long-term good for America. They have to do it some point in time because dollar is too overvalued.
Next one, please. Shankar VK wants to know, lower output, but lower import tariffs might reduce cost of capital goods and high-tech engineering products, industrial robotics for Indian importers, and improve our productivity?
Absolutely. That is why, most of the infrastructure products doesn't attract that luxury tax. So we go by product to product or product category to product category on our tariffs, not by a broad brush saying that anything that comes from US is 300%. It is by product category. I think that is a smart way to do it. And then, what we did is, say, for example, toys from China, we increased the tariff significantly to protect the Indian industry. Otherwise, we are importing every toy at household used to be from China. So the tariff has to be used to protect your Indian industry. But I think you're right. Capital goods and all doesn't attract so much of tariffs.
Next one, please. Shiva Raman wants to know, is it correct that Bangladesh is losing about almost 72% of its foreign direct investment that was planned, and inflation for basic food is skyrocketing?
Absolutely, you're right. See, because it is an unstable regime. Some point in time, there were economic pundits who used to teach Mr. Modi to learn from Bangladesh, economic policies. And where are they today? I don't know. I need to search for them. And somewhere in the past, and few years back, this is not too back in the history, about 10 years back, Bangladesh textile industry was a threat to Indian textile industry, and then Vietnam and Bangladesh ruled the world. Even though Vietnam still is, very ahead of India, I wouldn't, deny that. So Bangladesh is losing it out. So the food inflation is significantly higher. That's why the public are not happy with the regime change. People who triggered this agitation, they are all having fun. They are all having their economic prosperity, but not the public. And then the public uprising would definitely happen.
Thank you so much, Sriram ji. Viewers, we are going to take a small break and we'll be back together in PGurus Tamil. Stay tuned for that one if you understand Tamil, or if you'd like to learn Tamil, please feel free to join. Sir, I'll see you on the other side in just a few minutes. That's right. Third language.